Congratulations on buying my bra block. As you can see, I've got steps on it. I've got step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The purpose of this is for you to download step 1. This is the bra block for you to scale up to the size you want, and then for you to modify and make your print off and modify and make your patterns from. It's quite ambitious to be wanting to make it into a pattern in Illustrator. Anyway, I'm just going to give you, depending on your levels of background with pattern making, Illustrator, I'm just going to give you a really fast cover of this. Okay, so the first thing is, if you want this, you need to use this. You probably want to zoom in on the bra, and then you want to get a tape measure, and you want to measure under your bust. So measure around your body, under your bust, and then you want to come into here, get this tape measure tool. So it's normally hidden under the eyedropper. So if you hit I for eyedropper, that will take you to the eyedropper, and then you can find the measuring tool. And then you can measure from here to here, and it will tell us the things. If you go Control R, it will bring up the ruler. And if you right mouse click over the ruler, see how we've got the ruler up here and around there. So to our left and to our top. You can change the increments to something like inches if that's what you're working with, or centimeters as I would work with. And so I would have a piece of paper, and I would then go this bit along here, and I'd go, okay, that's 3.5 centimeters. From here to my dart, that's another 10.5, and I'd write that down. And then from the other side of the dart to the center front, oops, I would then go, oops, why did it give me a funny measurement? There we go. 4 centimeters, and I'd add that together, and then you should look at your measure around your body, under your bust, and work out what that measurement is. To that, once you've got that, you may want to come and get your selection tool, your black arrow up here, keyboard shortcut V. Select this over here. I'm going to hold the Alt. Can you see how when I hold the Alt, I get a double-headed arrow? I'm going to click on something that's black, so then I know I've actually got content there, and I'm going to click and drag, release my mouse, and then release the Alt. Now this will give me my bra block. So from that, I could just take away a few of these little bits of writing just because I don't want that. So I'm just selecting them with my selection tool and then hitting delete on the keyboard. So what I'm going to do is delete this little one up here. And just this. So now if I was to use my selection tool and I select it, I've just got the length of my bra. It's a little bit over because it's going to the back of this part of the bra. But what I can do is now, if I have my properties showing, can you see up here, I've got the width, and this is saying that it's 20 centimeters. So this being on the front, cut on the fold, it means that my bra, if I was to print it off, would be 40 centimeters. Now that's very unlikely that any of you are going to be 40 centimeters. So if I come to what actually might be easier for you to do is, if you know what size you are, is come over to the rectangle over here, keyboard shortcut M. And if I was to click on the page and I go, okay, what width do I want? Maybe I'll just do the height as 2 centimeters, just because the height's irrelevant. And if we say, okay, I know that I am 85 centimeters, or you type in inches, even if you're in a different thing, and you can say I'm that. Okay, so now I've got this here. I'm going to move it into place. There we go. And I might even come over to my layers and see how I've got this rectangle here next to the eye, and between the eye and the blue line here, I'm just going to click on it and it will add a padlock. Now that won't move. So now if I was to place my bra at the start of that line, oops, and then I was to just zoom out a bit, I'm holding Control negative on my keyboard, I could then click and drag. I might want to replace it back over here. And I could now place my underside here, and this line. So now I know that this is roughly fitting my 85 centimeters. You might want to then get your ruler out and measure from there to there, there to there, to there to there, and there to there, and add it together. And because it's on the fold, once you've got that number added together, do it double. And then that will give you your base size. Now I'm just going to make this line thick for you, just so that you can see it a little bit clearer. Okay, so once you've got that, you've got your bra, and you've now made sure that it is acceptable for you to an acceptable size. It's going to be a good size for you to work with. Now there's all sorts of things you can do. I'm just going to show you a quick, first of all, I'm just going to show you the most important thing is, now you might be at home and you need to print this off. Now this is bigger than my A4 page or my A3 page. So I'm going to bring up my ruler again, Control R. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come over here. Can you see this little artboard tool? I'm going to make my artboard this big. There we go. I'm going to fit it onto my page. Now, if I was to go to Control P, which is print, I've got my dialog box. Depending on what your printer is, you'll have a different driver and it may display differently. But there is an option which is tile full page. And can you see what it's doing? With my size, my A4 pages, it's printing this out over a whole heap of sheets. I could come into my setup if I've got an A3 printer and change it to A3. I could also move maybe some of the most important bits off there so that oops, maybe not so much. So I've only got a little bit going into there, so I've still got all of that. So now if I was to print, it would go across all those pages. I could trim off the edges, sticky tape it together, and then using your tracing wheel, mark it out on card, and there you go. You now have your block. So hopefully that gives you a few ideas. Also, once you've cut and slash and done different bits to your design, the other thing that I would recommend is, see how we've got a shape here for our underwire. If you are going to use an underwire, I would scan an underwire into your computer and place it over the top and reshape this so that it is exactly the same shape of your underwire. You will then get a beautiful fit. Okay, I'm going to show you perhaps a couple of things you could do to edit this as a pattern. If I've got this as a block and now I'm going to perhaps look at it as a pattern, I might want to cut this into a different section. So if I'm not going to select all the lines, I'm going to select the outline plus my cup shape. And from that, I'm going to come over to my shape builder and see how when I hover, I get a grade and like a grid. So I can click on it and that will now be that shape, and I can come over here and I can come on here. If you didn't get the grid, it could be because there's a gap. And if you come back over to the tool itself over here on the left and double click, you might need to tick Gap Detector. Mine's already selected. So now look what happens if I'm going to right mouse click and ungroup all of this so I can see this, and might have to ungroup again and ungroup again. Sometimes these things, but can you see now I've got this pattern piece, I've got this pattern piece, and I've got this one, oops, this one here. Now I might want to fold these darts out, and I might also want to have a bust line. So I might want to cut this in half first. So once again, I'm going to select that middle line for this one, and that. So now I've got my two different shapes here. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to select this shape here, and I am going to come up, see where the eraser is here? There's a knife tool. Now if I just click and drag it, it's not a straight line, so you never want to do that. What you want to do is hold the Alt before you click. Place the little arrow where you want to cut from, but a little outside, and click and drag, and then we want to come and do the other side and click and drag. So then this piece here can be deleted because that's our dart. And what we want to do for our pattern piece is we want to select this piece. So let me just do it this piece, and we want to join it up with this. But we need to rotate it. Just as you would with a paper pattern, you want to cut and slice. So I'm going to hit R for rotate. The rotate and the reflect tool are a two-part process. So what happens with this is where I want to pivot from, which is here, I need to click once And then I come down to this point here, and now I click, hold, and I drag to close the dart. Then I can select the other side. And this time I'm going to get the shape builder. I'm going to click and drag across the two shapes. It's not quite perfect, so this one here, I might just get in my pen tool and just hit P. So now, if I was to drag this down, that's my under bust thing. Now there is a point here. If you would need to smooth this off. That's what. So I'm just going to hopefully get one of these. What I could do is turn on my corner widgets and make it smooth, or different things. But yeah, so that's what you would do, is you would smooth this off like you would with a pattern, so that you don't have a nasty dart. Then up the top here, you can see this dart needs to be folded out too. So if you have this selected, once again, come to your knife, hold your Alt, click and drag up to your notch line, come back to release, hold the Alt, come back up here to this, and then select the bit that you want to fold out, select your a pattern piece that you want to pivot, and then you want to go after rotate, click once on the pivot point, click and drag, and then select this other piece and get your shape builder and click and drag. Once again, we've got a problem with this here, so I just get my pen tool and click over it. Now you would also copy these notches down. I'm just trying to give you a quick overview of how you make it. So now we've got our upper bust shape. Once again, you would just round off this. A quick way to round that off in Illustrator, if that's what you're looking for, is to select this, get your P for pen tool, and add 2 anchor points over either side by clicking release it, and then delete that one in there. You may need to come up to your pen tool and come down to your anchor point tool. And if I was to click and drag, always just click on a bit of a weird angle first and see which way it takes to unwind it. See how that winds it up? And then if I just go like this, we'll end up with a beautiful smooth point. Okay, last bit, if you're wanting to make this a pattern, if I was to now select these, because they are to scale, depending on what you want for your seam allowance, I'm thinking that you probably want something like 0.8 of a centimetre or 8 millimetre. So with all of that selected, we come up to Object, Path, Offset Path, and we're going to go 0.8 centimetre, and it has now added that to it. So we can go, okay, so then all on the inside one, perhaps we'll have a light line. And you can see. And so then you would make sure you label things. Once again, this would need to be shaped to get rid of that point. It is just a block that it has a basic shape. You would now need to, you would need to add your flap for where you're going to have your hook and eyes to do up your bra before you do that. And you might need to add that on once you get to this point. So you might just go, well, actually, I'm going to have a 4 centimetre overflap on both sides, or 2. This is for you to do. Then you will name it, give it your different grade lines and things like that. But this is just a very, very quick overview to try and give you an idea. I hope that helps. Enjoy. I'm really excited to hear about your projects.